Good evening and welcome to our Facebook Live event.
Good evening.
My name is Laura Spradley and this is Carolyn Torrance. And we really appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. We know it's a busy time of year. It's December already. What happened to November?
2019.
It's gone.
What happened to 2019?
Yes, and it's also Giving Tuesday, so we know you had lots of choices, but you're here listening to us tonight, and we appreciate it. We are going to talk about how to get through the holidays with a loved one that has dementia.
Some holiday tips.
Holiday tips for both the person suffering with dementia and with you as a caregiver. Some tips for everybody tonight. So, as I said, I'm Laura Spradley. I am with the Arkansas Geriatric Education Collaborative, which we shorten it and say AGEC, and we are at UAMS and the Institute on Aging through a federal grant. And Carolyn Torrance is the Education and Outreach Director for Alzheimer's Arkansas. So we're here together tonight to talk to y'all. And we want to be sure that y'all understand that we'll try to get to your questions as soon as we can, but keep them coming through Facebook. And if we don't get to you during the show, we'll get to you right afterwards. And this conversation tonight is just education and conversation. It doesn't take the place of you talking to your doctor if you think you have medical needs that you need to talk to him or her about. So without further ado, let's talk about the holidays. I'm already stressed.
Me too. Okay, we made it through Thanksgiving. So
got the turkey cooked,
got the turkey
leftovers
cooked,
eaten,
and that probably is going to make some people, especially caregivers, think about how Christmas and the holiday season is going to look and some of the challenges they may have come up with.
Christmas and New Year's back to back.
Yeah.
So, okay. So say, Carolyn, because you're just so good at this, say you have a new family member that's been diagnosed with dementia. How should you go about maybe telling people that you really only see them once a year, or your loved one may have changed since the last time they were home? Do you have any suggestions on that?
So, newly diagnosed, I would say, the first thing I want to say about any person diagnosed with a dementia is if you've seen one, you've only seen one. So, no two are the same. So, even with us providing information tonight, there's always people on both sides of the coin. Like something is going to work for one person, but it's not going to work for the other. But I would say, being newly diagnosed, I think it's a time to share. I think a lot of people want to hide the fact that they have a diagnosis, or they feel like they disrespect people when they share. But to be honest, it's the only way we're going to get past the stigma. It's a disease like any other disease. We tell people when people have cancer or diabetes, and I think it would be only the best thing to share with family members if there's a diagnosis, because at least they will be prepared and get educated on what may come later on during the progression.
And for your family, pick the right time.
Pick the right
place.
It's for your family, so you pick the right time, the right place, the right atmosphere, and who to tell, because sometimes not telling becomes the thing that is most detrimental.
Might upset someone not knowing.
Not knowing, and we see silver alerts all the time. Sometimes it's just the neighbor, if they had known that they had dementia, when they noticed them outside walking down the street, they may have stopped them or, kind of redirected them, but they didn't know, so they thought what they were doing is correct. So it's often better to share than not to share.
We're going to talk about it later, but most friends and family want to help somehow.
Yes.
So, and you're going to need help.
And you're going to need help.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if family and friends notice that the loved one may be more withdrawn, or can't follow a conversation, or isn't partaking in the conversations, have you learned over the years some tips for how to keep them included in that table of 10 conversations going at once?
So when you think about dementia, you really have to think about that it is a brain disease, and it affects everything about you. So even hearing. So if your hearing is affected because of the dementia, the way we can sit at a table and hear everyone talking and our brain is filtering that, then the person with dementia, their brain cannot do that anymore, and it sounds chaotic. So us trying to change our behaviors and talking to that person one at a time and giving them the time to process, because it's also processing. Not that they can't hear. A lot of times when we talk to people and they don't answer, then we raise our voice and scream, and it's not that they can't hear, it just takes more time to process. So
allowing them that time.
Allowing them the time, and kind of pay attention to body language. Body language says it all. 90% of our communication comes from body language. So if you see something in their body, in their face, that's saying that something is not right, it is not.
And we find that, and we're going to talk about this later on, some things to do, but sometimes reminiscing is a good way to get them involved in the conversation. Talk about.
Yeah, so the honest part of it is that person may not know who you are by name, or they may know who some people are and don't recognize who others are. But remember that as people, we may not remember your name, but we remember how you make me feel. So emotions become very important in this, and if I make you feel well, then I remember how you make me feel. So there are some things to get them involved, reminiscing, talking about the old days, but also giving them permission and us not feeling like they have to take part of it.
Yeah.
Because, there's the independent part of it, like give them the ability to have a safe place to go. If there's too much going on in a room. So giving them a safe place to step away or to go and rest without us feeling like we've done something wrong, because that's very important.
So it's okay to give them a break from the table, or
it's
whatever commotion is going on.
Because it may be too much. And it would be only respectful to give them a place to go and to maybe even visit with people one at a time or a couple at a time rather than a whole room at the same time, because it becomes too chaotic.
Another thing I was thinking about the other day, because my mom was here for Thanksgiving, and we found it fun to include them in things that they want to do. She can't stand for a long period of time.
Yes.
So some you have any tips for how to include
So, really, if you really want to think about it, but you have to, here's the other thing, like always be on the lookout for things that don't work. So for most of us, or some of us, like Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. Like we love the Christmas music, we love the lights, we love everything surrounding it. But there are people that do not like the holidays. And having dementia is not going to change that. So if there's a song or there's something that happened when they were young, it may trigger negative feelings. So us knowing that our parent never liked, or our loved one never liked the holidays, it's not going to change just because they have a diagnosis. So if they are into it, of course, play the old Christmas music, play the old Christmas movies. Give them time to process and take time to sing, make cookies, whatever part they can in the process, and include, like, let them do what they can while they can. So.
Something we talked about at a lunch and learn a couple of weeks ago was we as caregivers have to give up some of our perfections that we want. Like,
oh my goodness.
We want the cookie iced this way and the cake frosted perfectly. But it probably should be more about the memory
it's
and
more
the togetherness.
The memories.
Not the perfection.
So I think even if you're not a caregiver, you have to let those perfections go. I think that's where, and expectations, I think that's what ruin the holidays for most of us, but allowing things to go as they are. Like there's no perfect holiday, and realizing that from the beginning. Let go of the expectations. Sometimes it's just, we're going to have a beautiful table. It may be just, we're going to eat, right? We're going to eat tonight. So letting go of all those perfect expectations, and just doing the best you can. And remember, like you said, it's about the memory and the love and the fun, not about the perfection.
What if someone out there is dealing with someone who has progressed to the point that they may have unpredictable behaviors? Any tips for that? Obviously, family needs to know about that.
So that's where communication with families. If you know you're caregiving for your loved one and they may have challenging behaviors or responses, it's the time to tell.
No surprises.
No surprises. Share with your loved one, that they have behaviors. Maybe even share that they may not know who you are. Because, some of the heartbreaking things is, family members come and they expect their favorite aunt or their grandparents to know who they are, but they don't.
It may have been 3 or 6 months in this home. Yeah.
So, just including them and educating them on where they are in the disease. And if something happens that's a challenging behavior or an outburst, let them know that you will take care of it because you're the one that's familiar. And again, keep that safe place so you can give them a place to go and rest and kind of calm down.
What do you think about people saying, we want to have you over, but really we need to limit it to an hour or two? And I think that's a huge adjustment for some people. They might think that they really don't want them to come over, but it's just you have to limit the time.
You have to limit the time.
And say what times are good. If your loved one does better in the morning, say, we'd love to see you, but could you come between 10 and 11? Because 1 to 3 is not a good time. It's okay to tell people.
It's okay
better to be honest.
To be honest and tell people. I think that's one of the mistakes. Yeah. And we don't want to wear our loved ones out. And we don't want them to have the behaviors and the outbursts. But that comes along with them being overstimulated. So if you've been caregiving and their good part, the good times of the day, then that's the best time to have visitors over. And who says it has to be Christmas? Maybe you have a few loved ones over on Christmas Eve and then a few over on Christmas, because it's about
or
the day after Christmas. So it's getting them to see their loved one, still making memories with them, but adjusting so everyone can at least feel the love of the holidays.
And traditions are always good, but sometimes we may not be able to do them all. Maybe we just get the tree up, but not all the ornaments. And here again.
So, and that's one of the things you have to realize is because dementia is a brain disease, it affects every part of your body, of your brain and your body. So I think someone can think that ornament is actually candy or food and put it in their mouth. And it's really like making sure that everyone is safe and secure. So you can get a tree and they may already have lights on it, and don't put the kind that you have to wrap around. So there's a way to make sure that everyone is safe, but sometimes it has to be like with toddlers, we have to keep an eye on them and
proof our house for situations. And maybe a tree is not the best thing, because also the blinking, if you have blinking lights, may be an issue. So it's keeping in mind what is working for your loved one. All right, let's see. Do we have any questions from the audience yet?
The last one.
Oh, okay. Oh boy.
We have a question.
Yes,
it
we
says,
do.
what about our overbearing family members? Any suggestions?
I guess, from what angle overbearing? Like, maybe they want to know more about the disease or how a person's doing or planning certain events.
I think overbearing family members, and we usually know who they are.
They probably mean well.
Well, I'm not going to always say that either, but I'm going to say that those are those pre-conversations.
Yeah.
And those are setting the boundaries of what you expect in your house or your day. And yes, I know it may be it can be a sibling, but if you're the primary caregiver, you are going to do this and you know what's best. Having a conversation about these are the boundaries, this is how we're going to take care of things, and coming to an agreement before they come over or come into town. I think that's the best way to handle them. And all of us have family dynamics. It does not have anything to do with dementia or Alzheimer's, only make it worse. Yeah. So it's just having that conversation before. And I know it's hard, but it's for your sanity and for your loved ones' well-being that we take care and set boundaries before
and this kind of rolls into another question that's up there about respite. You could use, and this is near and dear to Alzheimer's Arkansas's heart because y'all do so much respite. We just love y'all's grants and stress them. And we can talk about that, but it might be a good time to use some of those respite times to have those family conversations where someone could watch your loved one and y'all have some time together.
So we talked about having your loved one at the Christmas celebration. There's also an appropriate time not to have them in there, and we as caregivers and family members should, or we could for our loved ones, consider what's best for them. Is it best for them to be in a celebration? And sometimes the answer is it's not. So there is respite care. So respite care is rest for the caregiver, the family, the loved one. And you can do it in a number of ways. You can hire someone to come in. That could be private or volunteers. You can go to adult daycares. And assisted living and nursing homes provide respite care days where you can pay for, usually just depending on the facility, a couple days, and that may be the best time for your loved one to go into the facility so you can have the celebration, because maybe it's just not for them to celebrate anymore. Like maybe that's just not the best thing. Sometimes we feel guilty, but guilt should not come from doing what's right.
Correct.
If I would rather have my loved one in a safe place where they're calm and it makes sense to them, and rather than a place that's chaotic and they don't understand what's going on. So we have to forgive ourselves and not let it bear the burden of like them going for respite care rather than and if you set up respite care days, then family members can go to the facility and visit them
and enjoy what's going on. They have events and foods and all that. I had a thought and it left my brain.
That's normal aging.
That's normal aging, right? Don't tell me it's not. So. Would this be a good time to tell them where to find out about those respite grants on your website? So
please visit alzark.org. We have a number of respite grants. If you live in 6 counties, and it's the central Arkansas counties, we have CareLink grants that would pay for respite care grants. If you live anywhere across the state of Arkansas at this point, we have a few DHS lifespan respite grants, and it's for any age. The person you're taking care of, any age, as long as they have a special need. It's $250. You can find all of that on our website again, alzark.org, under the grants tab, and find out about the grants we have.
Great. We have a question. What should people consider with maybe grandchildren or younger children, telling them about maybe a loved one that has dementia or Alzheimer's disease?
So children are very unique. So a lot of times children, they kind of mimic sometimes what the adults have set in place, but sometimes the loved one, because they are kind of, I hate to use the word like going backwards, they are more childlike. Sometimes they get along with the young children better than they do the adults. So, because they'll play games with them, they can kind of interact, yeah, all the things. But sometimes young children may be afraid, and if they are afraid, I say don't force anything upon them. On either one of the person with your loved one with the dementia or the children, like don't force anything, and just kind of bear that in mind. And that again, there goes the safe place for kids and the loved ones.
Something I thought about was we talked about it earlier before the show. You can make new memories too.
Yes.
Yes, take those pictures while you can.
So I think what's very important is know your loved one may not remember, but they remember how you feel. And you as the caregiver and the family member, you're still making great memories with them. And you would not want to feel the guilt of not sharing holidays and those last days and moments with your loved one because you don't think they remember, but you remember. Right. So that's the most important thing. Right.
And with these phones that we have, you can take movies,
yes,
all kinds of fun stuff,
yes,
and share it with great memories.
Great memories.
Okay. Any other questions from? Oh, here's one. Is respite available on Christmas Day?
Is respite available on Christmas Day? So that's kind of a trick question, I believe. But the reality is, of course, respite is finding someone that you trust to provide the care to your loved one. So there are in-home care agencies that will send out people to take care of your loved one in the homes. I would suggest trying them before Christmas Day. They usually have some type of screening and assessment so they know what kind of needs.
So if you're thinking, you probably need to start thinking now.
You need to start thinking
that. You should calls made, check out your options.
Yeah. And again, like I had said before, assisted livings and nursing homes, they have respite care beds available, but they're usually limited. So the faster start now so you can get the one that you want, because just like everything else, each one is different and provide different levels of care.
Have we forgotten anything? Any other questions from the audience? Okay.
So let's not forget to go to our website.
Absolutely.
We do have care cards available online. Our 2020 schedule for Little Rock Hopes and Lunch and Learns are up. And today is Giving Tuesday. I know. I love today. A special day. We are at Alzheimer's Arkansas. We have a special opportunity. If you create a Facebook page, a fundraiser for Alzheimer's Arkansas, and it goes to December the 31st. Ask your friends and family to contribute to give, and for every $50 raised, you will get an entry for 2 round-trip tickets. Look at that, for Southwest Airline anywhere they fly.
Wow. Okay.
So it's really exciting. So if you want to get away for the first part
for that respite,
we have tickets. Tickets.
Well, I don't have anything like that to offer, but we have great programs too on our website that you can check out. So your website again, I want to make sure everybody heard it: alzark.org, and ours is agec.uams.edu, and both of us have programs for caregivers and education classes. All are free from our standpoint. And we want to say thank you again. It's a busy time of year, but thanks for tuning in, and check both of our websites for upcoming announcements and events. Enjoy the rest of your evening.